A few years ago, Nathaniel Massiah, a young fitness influencer, landed what seemed like a dream deal. He got signed by Gymshark. At just 19, he was part of one of the biggest fitness brands in the world, wearing their clothes in his videos and getting paid to represent them. But not long after, things started to change. Nathaniel wanted to explore other opportunities, work with different brands, and grow his personal brand. But Gymshark wasn't having it. They claimed he broke his contract by promoting another company, and instead of just parting ways, they took legal action against him. Suddenly, the brand that once prided itself on its connection with influencers was now suing them. Nathaniel isn't alone. Over the past few years, tons of influencers have walked away from Gymshark. Some say the company has changed, others claim the contracts are too strict. And now, with lawsuits hitting influencers, people are starting to ask, what happened to Gymshark? This is the story of how Gymshark built an empire on influencers, why so many are leaving, and how the company might be digging its own grave. Gymshark wasn't always the giant fitness brand it is today. It started in 2012 when Ben Francis, a 19-year-old college student from the UK, began making gym clothes in his parents' garage. At the time, big brands like Nike and Adidas ruled the fitness world, and there wasn't a clothing company made specifically for gym lovers. That's where Gymshark stepped in. But it wasn't just the clothes that made Gymshark different. It was how they marketed them. Instead of spending millions on ads, they turned to influencers. Back then, fitness YouTubers and Instagram stars were just starting to grow, and Gymshark saw the opportunity. They sent free clothes to bodybuilders, powerlifters, and fitness influencers who wore them in their videos and posts. Soon, every fitness fan on social media wanted Gymshark gear. This influencer-driven strategy skyrocketed the brand's popularity. Gymshark went from a small online store to a company worth over $1 billion in less than a decade. Sponsoring an influencer became the new version of having a celebrity endorsement. The brand built a loyal following, and athletes proudly wore their Gymshark outfits, feeling like they were part of something bigger. But as Gymshark grew, things started to change. The brand became more corporate, contracts became stricter, and influencers started feeling trapped. Some wanted out, but Gymshark wasn't letting go so easily. The same influencer system that made Gymshark so successful was now turning against them. And soon, people started leaving in droves. For years, being a Gymshark athlete was like a golden ticket in the fitness industry. It meant sponsorship deals, exposure, and a direct connection to one of the biggest gym brands in the world. But over time, more and more influencers started walking away, and not quietly. One of the biggest names to leave was David Lade, a fitness influencer with millions of followers. He was one of Gymshark's original stars, helping put the brand on the map. But in 2020, he quietly cut ties with the company. He never made a big statement about it, but fans started noticing. No more Gymshark in his videos, no brand shoutouts, nothing. The same thing happened with Lex Little, another rising fitness star, who also left without a clear explanation. So why were they leaving? Many influencers started speaking out about how Gymshark's contracts were too limiting. They weren't just required to wear Gymshark, they had to avoid other brands, post a certain number of times per month, and follow strict guidelines. Some influencers felt trapped and wanted more freedom. Gymshark started as a brand for hardcore lifters and fitness fanatics, but over time it became more mainstream. Some influencers felt that the brand was shifting towards a more commercial, lifestyle-focused audience and didn't fit their personal brand anymore. With Gymshark's success, other brands started copying their influencer strategy. Companies like Alphalete, Young LA, and Vanquish started offering better deals, looser contracts, and more creative freedom. Influencers who once saw Gymshark as the best option now had better choices. Gymshark has had fallouts with influencers, some of which have played out publicly. One of the biggest examples was Natasha Osayan, a fitness YouTuber who left Gymshark and later hinted that the company wasn't treating athletes the way they should. More influencers started voicing their frustrations, and suddenly, leaving Gymshark wasn't just an option, it was a trend. The shift became obvious. Just a few years ago, Gymshark had a lineup of some of the biggest names in fitness. Now, many of those same influencers have moved on, and the ones that remain are either new or locked in by contracts. But Gymshark wasn't just losing athletes, they were starting to fight back. Instead of letting influencers leave, the company started suing them. Losing influencers was one thing, but suing them? That's when things really started getting messy. One of the biggest controversies hit when Nathaniel Massiah, a young and promising fitness influencer, found himself in a legal battle with Gymshark. At first, things were great. He was sponsored, getting exposure and building his career. But when he decided to promote another brand, things turned ugly fast. Gymshark accused him of breaking his contract, specifically a non-compete clause, a rule that basically stops influencers from working with competitors. Instead of handling things quietly, Gymshark took legal action against him. Fans were shocked. This was a company that built its entire image on influencer relationships, and now it was suing one of its own? But Nathaniel's case wasn't just about him. It exposed a bigger issue. Many influencers who left Gymshark said their contracts were too restrictive. Some even suggested that the brand was trying to control their careers, limiting what brands they could work with, even after their deals ended. Let's break it down. Gymshark reportedly uses contracts that stop influencers from working with competing brands for months, or even years, after leaving. For full-time influencers, that's a big problem. If Gymshark drops them, or if they choose to leave, they could be stuck without a source of income because they're still under contract. Some influencers said Gymshark controlled how often they had to post, what kind of content they could create, and even which fitness events they were allowed to attend. For many, it started feeling less like a sponsorship and more like a job, without the benefits. Nathaniel Massiah's case wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. Gymshark seems to be setting a precedent. If an influencer violates their contract, they won't just be dropped quietly, they'll be punished. This has sent a strong message to current and former athletes: stay in line or face the consequences. The reaction from the fitness community was split. Some people thought Nathaniel knew what he was signing up for and should have followed the rules. Others felt Gymshark was being way too aggressive, especially for a brand that was built on influencer relationships. But one thing was clear: this wasn't the same Gymshark people had once loved. The brand that once relied on influencers to grow was now fighting them in court. And the backlash? It was only getting started. When Gymshark first started, it was seen as the cool, up-and-coming brand that was shaking up the fitness world. But now, things are looking very different. The lawsuits, strict contracts, and influencer exits have damaged Gymshark's reputation. The fitness community, once full of Gymshark supporters, is starting to turn on the brand. Here's how it's affecting them. Gymshark built its empire by making influencers feel like part of a family. But after the lawsuits and contract disputes, many feel betrayed. Fitness fans follow influencers because they trust them. So when influencers start leaving and calling out the brand, their followers start questioning Gymshark too. Instead of being seen as a brand that supports athletes, Gymshark now has the reputation of a corporate machine that controls and punishes its influencers. That's a big shift, and not in a good way. Years ago, everyone wanted to be a Gymshark athlete, but now other fitness brands are stepping in to take Gymshark's place. Companies like Alphalet, Young LA, and Vanquish are offering better deals, more creative freedom, and fewer restrictions. Instead of chasing a Gymshark sponsorship, influencers are now avoiding it. Gymshark is no longer the top choice. It's becoming the brand that influencers warn each other about. Social media is unforgiving. The lawsuits and influencer complaints have led to negative press, and fans are calling out Gymshark online. On platforms like Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok, more and more people are questioning the brand's ethics. Comments like, "Gymshark isn't the same anymore," or "they're too corporate now," are becoming common. This kind of backlash sticks, and once a brand loses its cool factor, it's hard to get it back. Despite all the backlash, Gymshark is still a billion-dollar company. They have a massive customer base and strong branding. But the question is, can they keep it up? If Gymshark doesn't change how they treat influencers, they risk losing even more athletes and damaging their brand further. The fitness world is always evolving, and if Gymshark doesn't adapt, it might end up being just another brand that had its moment and faded away. Gymshark changed the fitness industry by using influencers to build their brand. But now, that same strategy is backfiring. The company that once seemed like a dream sponsorship is now known for strict contracts, lawsuits, and losing its biggest stars. Influencers like David Lade, Lex Little, and Nathaniel Massiah have either left quietly or been forced out in legal battles. Gymshark's reputation has taken a hit, and the fitness community is starting to turn away. So, what happens next? Gymshark still has a huge customer base, but without influencers backing them, can they stay relevant? If they don't fix their relationships with athletes, they risk becoming just another corporate fitness brand, one that people buy from but don't connect with. What do you think? Is Gymshark doomed, or can they recover? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives like this.